I've been talking about everyday carry for a long time now. I've reviewed hundreds of products, backpacks, slings, knives, flashlights, wallets, pens, multi-tools, pouches, and everything else we somehow convince ourselves belongs on our person or in our pockets. And after spending this much time in the EDC community, I have a confession to make. There are things I used to believe about EDC that I don't believe anymore. And there are pieces of advice that I've probably repeated myself that today I would give you completely differently. So instead of calling out your EDC, I'm calling out mine. Because apparently I was wrong about a few things. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of EDC For Beginners. If you're new here, my name is Mikey, and this podcast is all about helping people get into everyday carry without feeling overwhelmed, pressured, or like they need to spend hella money to get into this hobby. On my main channel, though, MikeyDailyCarry, I review knives, flashlights, backpacks, fanny packs, wallets, pens, just about anything and everything EDC. But over here, we're not talking about products much. We're talking about the mindset of everyday carry, and today's episode is going to be a little different because I think there's this weird thing that happens online where once you give an opinion, people expect you to defend that opinion for the rest of your life. Even when you learn something new. Even when your circumstances change. Even when your experience proves you wrong. I don't believe in that. If I believe exactly the same things about EDC today that I believe when I first got into the hobby, that would probably mean I haven't learned anything. So today, I'm giving myself permission to change my mind. Let's start with one everybody has heard. Buy once, cry once. I've heard it, I've said it, buy the expensive things now so you don't have to buy the cheaper thing first and replace it later. And conceptually, I understand it. There are absolutely situations where buying quality up front makes sense. But I don't think buy once, cry once is necessarily great advice, especially for beginners. Because here's the problem. How are you supposed to buy your forever version of something when you don't even know what you like yet? Think about knives. You're brand new. You don't know what blade length you prefer. You don't know what locking mechanism you like. You don't know if you prefer thumb studs, flippers, button locks, crossbars. You don't know if you like titanium, micarta, G10, aluminum. You don't know whether you want something lightweight or something that feels substantial. And somebody tells you, just spend $400 and buy a really good knife. Okay, which one? That's the problem. Premium doesn't automatically mean correct. You could spend $400 on an incredible knife and 6 months later realize you hate carrying it. Meanwhile, that $60 knife you bought first might teach you more about your preferences than the $400 knife ever could. And that's where my opinion has changed. I don't think beginners should necessarily buy the cheapest possible version of everything, but I also don't think you need to immediately jump all the way to the top. There's tremendous value in buying something affordable, using it, learning from it, and then upgrading based on your actual experience. Because now when you spend the money, you're not guessing. You know exactly what you're looking for. Here's another one. Buy the best you can afford. That sounds responsible, but I've realized something. Just because you can afford something doesn't mean that's how much you should spend. Let's say your budget allows you to spend $300 on a knife. Great. That doesn't automatically mean you should shop for $300 knives. Maybe the perfect knife for you costs $89. And here's where I think the hobby can mess with our brains a little bit. We start shopping by budget instead of shopping by need. I've got $300 to spend. Okay, but what are you trying to accomplish? Because those are completely different starting points. And I think a better question is, what does this product need to do for me? Maybe it's $300. Maybe it's $150. Maybe it's $50. And if the $50 option genuinely does everything you need, you just saved $250. Congratulations. And now you could go buy another knife. No, I was kidding. Now this one has changed a lot for me. I used to pay way more attention to specifications, blade steel, lumens, materials, water resistance, fabric, hardware, all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, specs matter. But the longer I review gear, the more I believe something else matters more. Design. Because a product can have an absolutely incredible spec sheet and still suck to use. Give me a premium blade steel, but terrible ergonomics? I don't want it. Give me a flashlight with an insane maximum output, but a terrible UI? I don't want it. Give me a backpack made from the most premium material available to date, but it doesn't have freaking sternum straps, and the organization is terrible? I don't want it. And this is especially relevant right now because premium materials have become such a huge part of EDC marketing. Titanium, MagnaCut, carbon fiber, Ultim, X-Pack, whatever material happens to be trending this week. And sometimes we see the material and immediately assume premium material equals premium product. Not necessarily. Titanium doesn't fix bad design. MagnaCut doesn't fix terrible ergonomics. Expensive fabric doesn't fix uncomfortable shoulder straps. Materials matter, but implementation matters more. So if I had to choose between an average material executed extremely well or an incredibly material executed poorly, I'll take the good design every time. I used to think more specialized tools automatically meant better preparedness, and EDC makes this really easy because there's a tool for everything. A knife, a flashlight, a pry bar, a multi-tool, pen, bit driver, bottle opener, scissors, tweezers, power bank, and more. But we don't want all of that floating around. We buy a pouch. Then we fill the empty spaces in the pouch because obviously we can't have empty molly. That's illegal. And suddenly we're carrying 12 tools. Now, there's nothing wrong with carrying a lot of gear if you actually use it. But I've started appreciating consolidation more. Can one tool accomplish multiple jobs? Can I eliminate redundancy? Can I carry something smaller? And ironically, sometimes carrying less has made me feel more prepared because I know exactly what I have, I know exactly where it is, and I know exactly how to use it when I have to, rather than digging around an entire pouch, flipping that freaking thing open and skimming through where you actually placed it. Now, this one may sound weird coming from somebody who reviews gear. Reviews don't tell you what's best. They can't. And I think creators need to be really careful with language around this. I can tell you what's good. I can tell you what's bad. I can tell you what I experienced. I can tell you about build quality, materials, features, value, what I like, what I didn't like. And I can tell you who I think the product makes sense for. But I can't tell you what the best knife is for you, because I'm not you. My hands aren't your hands. My pockets aren't your pockets. My daily routine isn't yours. My preferences aren't yours. My budget is not yours. And that's why I really don't want people watching my reviews thinking, Mikey said this is good, therefore I need to buy it. Nah, I want you thinking, Mikey showed me enough about this product that now I know whether it makes sense for me. That's a completely different relationship between a reviewer and an audience. And I think it's healthier. It's truly what got me into reviewing gear in the first place. That was the gap I was looking to fill. I think it's healthier, especially in EDC, because there are so many good products now. There probably isn't one best knife or flashlight or backpack. There might be a best option for a particular person, for a particular use, at a particular budget. That's very different. Here's another opinion I've changed. I don't think every EDC purchase needs to be justified by utility anymore. This one's interesting because we talked so much about everyday carry being tools, and they are, but this is also a hobby. And sometimes I buy something because I think it's cool. That's it. That's the entire justification. I don't need to invest some scenario where this $500 knife is going to save my life. Maybe I appreciate it. Maybe I love the machining. Maybe I like the materials. Maybe I've wanted one for years and I finally got it. And as long as I'm being financially responsible, that's okay. I actually think admitting that is healthier than creating fake utility to justify every purchase. Because once you understand whether you're buying something as a tool or buying something as part of your hobby, you can judge the purchase differently. And maybe the biggest opinion I've changed is the idea that eventually you're going to finish your EDC. I don't think you do. Not because you constantly need new stuff, but because you change, your lifestyle changes, your interests change, your responsibilities change, technology, products, they all change. What you thought was perfect 5 years ago might not fit your life today, and that's okay. EDC isn't a destination. There's no final boss. There's no point where the Everyday Carry Council mails you a certificate saying, congratulations, your pockets are complete. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to experiment. and you're allowed to change your mind. Which brings me back to the entire point of this episode. Changing your opinion isn't weakness. Sometimes it's evidence of experience. If you've carried enough knives, eventually you learn what you like. If you've tested enough backpacks, eventually you recognize good design faster. If you've bought enough unnecessary gear, eventually, hopefully, you stop buying some unnecessary gear. Some. We're still EDC people. Let's be realistic. But that's growth. And especially if you're brand new to everyday carry, don't feel like you need to figure everything out immediately. You don't. Buy something, use it, train with it. Maybe you love it, maybe you hate it. Maybe 6 months from now, you'll look back and wonder why you ever bought it. Or you'll think yourself. That's part of figuring out EDC. And don't be afraid to change your mind, because I certainly have. Multiple times. So here's my question for you and this episode. What's an EDC opinion you use to strongly believe that you completely disagree with today? Maybe you used to believe expensive automatically meant better. Maybe you thought everybody needed a knife. Maybe you were obsessed with a particular steel. Maybe you thought you needed 15 things in your pockets. Whatever it is, put it down in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's episode and you're getting value out of EDC for beginners, I'd really appreciate if you subscribe and join me for future conversations. And if you like this video today, make sure you hit that like button. Every week, I'm going to be breaking down everyday carry in a way that's approachable, practical, and hopefully helps you avoid some of the mistakes many of us made when we first got started. And if you're looking for honest reviews, first impressions, unboxing, hands-on videos, follow my main channel, MikeyDailyCarry. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for being a part of this community. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out. Waka